as a consumer, when you're looking to invest tens, hundreds, thousands of dollars, chances are we're going to Google whatever we're going to spend the money on.
Yeah.
And remember, if someone's going to hire you, they're doing the same thing to you. And if the only place you show up on is your own website and your own social media, but your competition has been featured in Forbes and Business Insider, and they've spoken on stage with Tony Robbins, guess who they're more likely to hire? And they won't be mad that that person costs more.
Right.
So you know what? The truth is, I don't have cable anymore and I'm a publicist. You know what I mean? But there is the truth of having those as seen on logos. Like I speak on stages. Nobody has ever introduced me saying, and here comes Lisa Simone Richards with 1,200 followers on Instagram.
Right.
It's all Lisa has been featured in the Globe and Mail, on Cityline, and all these credibility builders. So people know that I am the real deal and that they can trust me.
Hi, welcome to the Empowered Woman Podcast. This is a place for you to learn from inspiring women how to empower yourself through self-love. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is martaspirk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. On this episode, I talked to my friend and publicist who I've had the pleasure of working with for my own business, Lisa Simone Richards. She's such an amazing person and so good at what she does. She shares how she got into her work and also how important it is to build credibility for yourself beyond social media. So good. Let's get right to it. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so fun to talk in like a whole different context, Marta.
I know. So for those of you who may not know, I have known Lisa for almost a year now. We've been working together through Christina Nicholson's media mentoring program. She has been my mentor. Every month we have a couple calls, and she's the one that's been with me the entire process of me getting more exposure, writing for blogs, speaking at my university, going on TV, all of the time now. She's behind it all. She's amazing, but we're always talking about me. And I was like, hold on a second, Lisa. I don't know how I didn't think about this before. I need to have you on my podcast so we can talk about you for once. So go ahead, tell us, what do you do and how did it all get started?
Oh my gosh. Okay. How do we dial back to this? So I remember being in first year university, and that was when Sex and the City was in its heyday, and Samantha Jones made PR look really, really cool. So that was the beginning of Lisa getting started in PR.
Okay.
Funny enough, I thought I'd actually end up in the automotive industry. Like I was dying to work auto shows around the world. Ended up in fitness. So I've been working with health, fitness, and wellness professionals for about the last 10 years.
Okay.
And now what I'm seeing is that there's such a rise in coaches in the coaching industry that it's so saturated, it's really hard to stand out. So now what I'm really excited for in 2020 is to serve more coaches with getting out there. Kind of dialing back from the PR story, I remember like how I even got interested in the first place. I remember being about maybe around like 10 years old. And do you remember a magazine called Teen People?
Yes.
Okay. So I totally got Teen People. And I saw the letter to the editor section. I thought, how cool. You write a letter and you could be published in a magazine. So my 10-year-old self found a pen and paper and a stamp and envelope. And I wrote a letter to the editor. And a few months later, when the issue with Jonathan Taylor Thomas on the cover, he was wearing a shirt, blue background from Home Improvement. When I came home, I was like floored to see my name in this magazine. And so that was when I knew that being involved in the media in some capacity was something I wanted to do.
That's amazing. I love that story.
I wonder how JTT is doing these days. You know what? I bet you I'm curious if I checked out my mom's basement, if it might be somewhere. Because like, I know I still have my favorite t-shirts from when I was 6 years old.
Oh my gosh. You need to frame that. Are you kidding me? That's amazing. I love that story. Cool. So you're from Canada, right? So that's one thing that I wanted us to talk about, because you come to the US quite frequently to do like speaking engagements and stuff like that. How does it work over there in Canada? Is it pretty similar? Because obviously I've had lots of experience growing up in Brazil. That's what I've known for most of my life. And then now here in the US, ever since starting to work with you ladies. But tell us more like the differences and whatever it is. I'm curious to know.
For sure. So in Canada, I think the difference between Canada and the States when it comes to like opportunities to get yourself out there and be seen, it's just that in the States, just because of the geographical number, like I couldn't tell you the population of Canada versus the US, but there are more you guys than us. There are just so many more opportunities and outlets in the States. I am doing a little bit more speaking in Canada this year, but typically, I'll come down to San Diego almost once a month to come to leadership or sales training or speak on a stage. So
That's awesome. You're just traveling all over, speaking all over. So how does it work working with you in your business? Because I know the context that we've met in is through Christina's business, but how do you work with your clients? And I love what you said about coaches and the market being saturated, because obviously this is what I have experienced, and seeing how your work is so valuable, not only for us to get ourselves out there more, but to help us see how we stand out as people, because ultimately that's what you do, is you teach us how different you are and to leverage that. So I love that so much. And I talked a lot, but tell me.
Yeah, I can totally do that. So I think the way that I work with my clients in my coaching business is really stemmed from what didn't work for me when I launched my online business back in 2017. Okay. So again, being a publicist since I was 18, I'm really good at getting other people out there and in the spotlight. I'm typically the person wearing all black, hiding at a fashion show or behind a camera, letting the spotlight shine on my clients. So when I took a course on how to launch your own course, which is where I met Christina, by the way, back in the day. And I remember launching the course, and then the day it launched, like nobody bought it. And I realized, oh my God, I don't have an audience. I'm not in front of anyone. I'm not getting out there. I'm not on podcasts. Nobody knows who I am. Why did I think people would just be willing to throw $500 at me? Yeah. So that was kind of the moment that I realized I needed to do for my clients what I was doing for myself. So what I then created, which I teach with my clients, is kind of what I call my 5 Ps for positioning, publicity, and profit. And really quickly, what that takes them through is step number 1, who is your ideal client? Pick your perfect client. So that's the first thing that we do to get really clear on the person that we want to serve, what their fears, frustrations, wants, and aspirations are. And then once we've picked that perfect client, then it's all about, like you were saying before, how do you position yourself as a solution? Like, how do you make sure that you're showing up in a way that they're like, oh my God, it's like Marta's in my head. She has exactly what I need. Yeah. So I teach my clients how to do that. And then the third part is, how do you pick the right platforms to be featured on? So for example, where I've worked with fitness professionals in the past, they love to read the hardcore fitness magazines like Strong and Muscle and Fitness First and Oxygen. But if you're training the average woman, she's not reading that. Right. She's reading like a Cosmo or a Glamour. So we really think about where's that ideal client from step 1 hanging out, and then we choose the platforms that they're paying attention to. The fourth thing that I teach my clients is, how do you pitch for publicity? So now you know who your client is and where they're hanging out. You know why you're different and why they're going to choose you. So now, how do you actually leverage somebody else's audience? Because I feel like what I see so much of now is everyone's growing one follower at a time. And I love social media. It's so cool that we can DM our ideal clients in the background, but there is guaranteed someone somewhere has like 100, 1,000, 10,000 of your ideal clients hanging out. So how do you actually get past the gatekeeper so you can infiltrate that group, whether it's showing up on a Facebook Live, being on a podcast, kind of like what we're doing right now. So we really focus on, how do you pitch for publicity? Who do you need to know? How do you find their email address? How do you build a relationship with them so that you can have access to their audience? Right. And then finally, the last thing I take them through is, okay, now we've learned how to pitch for publicity. We've gotten seen in some places, but we run businesses. We're not hobbyists. So how do you actually take that publicity and turn it into profit in your business? So when I'm working with my clients, those are the 5 steps that I'm taking them through. And I think one thing that's really opened up for me this year is I want to focus on my clients' gifts and their goals. So some people love to be on stage. I'm an only child. I suffer from only child syndrome. I have no problem walking up on a stage of hundreds of people and being like, hey, everybody be quiet. I'm here now. Listen to me. For some people, that terrifies them. They'd rather write an article. So, based on what you want to create in your business and how you can do it in a way that feels powerful and good to you, that's how I help them shine.
I love that so much. And we resonate, even though I'm not an only child, I resonate with that so much. Maybe because I'm the youngest, I've been wanting the attention since I was born.
I remember one of my first stage appearances, I was like, who is this person? Because all of a sudden I was like, hey guys, stop talking, me. Okay, great. Let's go.
All eyes on me. So it makes sense that you do what you do because you help people kind of get over that. If they don't have that syndrome, you can kind of help them with that.
Totally. I find the first thing that I actually take any of my clients through is how to coach with confidence. Because so often we're like, who am I to be on this stage? Like last summer I spoke at the same event Rachel Hollis keynoted at. So many people would have a moment of, who am I to be on a stage with Girl Wash Your Face, right? Who am I to show up on television, be in magazines? Like Jillian Michaels is already out there and other people like that. So I find one of the first things I have to do is remind people of who they are. This is why you're powerful. This is what you're bringing to the table. And I actually have my clients essentially write it out on a piece of paper so that anytime they're getting into that imposter complex and they want to hide and play small, that they actually remember their value, their worth, and what they bring to the table. Because without that mindset, like I can give you all the PR strategies in the world, you're never going to feel worthy of showing up.
Oh my gosh. I love that you said that, because that's literally what has happened to me working with you ladies, is that I wasn't so sure. And this is one of the things that I talked about on Christina's podcast when she interviewed me, is that I wasn't 100% sure. My business wasn't 100% established, but I wanted the visibility. And just because I have kind of like the desire and the knack for being like on TV and doing things like that from a young age. And at first I thought I don't have it all together. So I kind of like the imposter syndrome. I can't really talk about it. I don't know what I'm going to say. And then you ladies really gave me the confidence in finding what I'm really good at and understanding that there's people out there that want to hear what I'm talking about. And I feel like, especially what you said about the internet, sometimes we feel like if we don't get all the likes or if we don't have all the followers, that nobody cares about what we're saying. But that's so not true, especially when once you learn the right angle to talk about what you want, what you like talking about, and how that can be relevant for the outlets, because they need to be talking about something, right? So you just have to give them something to talk about. And that's what you really taught me, is just getting to the point, getting rid of the fluff. And this is what I love so much about you, is that in 30 minutes, we get so much done because you're so fast and you have so many ideas. And I'm just curious to know, is this something that you developed like with time, and it's something that we just learn? Because to me, it seems like it's almost like writing a text or writing like an essay, but in a very specific format so that it will be read and it will increases the chances of it being accepted when you're pitching yourself.
You know what? I wish I could say I had some sort of formula around it, but I think I'm confident enough to say it's just my gift. Like, and put anybody in front of me, and within 10 minutes, I can give them a promotional plan.
Oh my gosh. And I love it so much, because even when sometimes I have like little bumps in the road of stuff and I tell you, well, this has happened, like they can't schedule me for this or whatever. And you're like, oh, I just thought of something. So it really is a gift, like, and really an empowering gift, because it's when you were talking, and especially during this last piece, when you said about the confidence, it really is what's so empowering about what you do, is that you having that confidence in yourself, and then you can bring up that confidence in your clients by telling them you have something to offer. Let's find that and let's showcase that into the world. So that's amazing. And it goes into the whole empowerment piece of my brand new name for the show. So I love that so much.
Yeah, I think when you step into your, sorry, I just want to share, I think when you step into your gifts, it just comes kind of naturally to you. I remember doing one of my first VIP days with a client where someone paid like thousands of dollars for a few hours with me. I was like, oh my God, we need to do this intake form and do all this preparation in advance. And as I continue to do them, I realized I literally don't actually need much before we hop into it. Because as they're telling me what they want to create and where they're at and what the gap is, it'll just come to me to act really naturally share with them how they can close that gap. Don't put your taxes in front of me. I can't help you with that at all. That is not my gift. But when it comes to getting your name out there, easy peasy.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because everybody has a different gift, right? And I feel like even though that is not necessarily my gift in being like a PR person, you have taught me so much that now I don't have to come, because I remember coming to the calls and being like, I'm even afraid of getting on this call because I have nothing to say. And then with time, I learned that you were the one helping me. So it didn't matter. I just had to have an idea and be really upfront with you about what I wanted. Because I remember one time you said, so hold on, just let's get this straight. Do you just want to be on TV? And I was like, yes, I did. I wasn't afraid, because we had so many calls until then. I was like, I'm not going to be embarrassed. And I feel like a lot of it too is just being embarrassed of what you want and not going for it. And you just gave me the confidence. And I am just so grateful for all of that.
And what I think is cool is, if I remember correctly, Marta, when we started together, you were saying actually through the publicity work, that helped you figure out what you wanted to do and what you wanted to hone in on.
Yes. So
you didn't have to just wait until you were 100% ready. Like, we can actually jump into it now and evolve and grow, because we have permission to do that. We're not static beings.
Exactly. And we always look up at people and think that they must have had everything figured out to get to where they are. And it's funny, because now I have a couple people that are starting with their coaching journey, and they're like, how do I get to where you're at? And I'm thinking, where am I? What do you mean? But it's just, you have to start, right? And you have to put yourself out there. And obviously the whole PR thing really helps with that.
And I think what's really cool is, like, fine, I've had 18 I've had 18 years doing this. I tried to do math for a second. Like I said, don't give me your taxes. But what was I going to say? I think for a lot of people, I was saying for me, because I've gone to school for this, I have a trade that I'm skilled with. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of coaches, just being a few steps ahead of your ideal client is the thing that's going to support them. So, you know, neither of us are Amy Porterfield or Rachel Hollis. Love them both. We're still evolving and growing.
Yes.
But where you're at and you're still growing, you know something more than the people, you know more than you did a year ago.
Yeah.
And now you can serve them. So it's not about I have to have everything figured out before I dare put myself out there, I dare take on clients. Mm-hmm. You can just be a few steps ahead. And honestly, I think that helps people trust you more. Yes. Like, because I work with so many health coaches and fitness personal trainers, some people will be like, oh, I have to lose 20 more pounds before I can like get a client to work with me. And I'm like, the person who wants to lose 50 pounds isn't going to hire the stick thin size 2 model, because for them, it's like, you can do it, but I can't. So being relatable is very powerful.
Yes, yes. And the whole accessibility too. And this is what I have been striving to do with my business, is being very upfront about my struggles and that I'm not perfect, because I never want to be looked up at in the sense of I can never reach that. That's not the goal. Especially as a coach, you should not want to be seen like that, because otherwise you're not really empowering anybody.
Totally. So, it's a disconnect.
Yeah. So tell us some, I'm interested and curious into some stories of like things that have gone wrong or what not to do. Give us some pointers in terms of like pitching to podcasts or to media in general. Because it's interesting that now that I've been on TV several times, lots of people have started asking me like, how much do you pay? How does this work? And I'm like, I don't pay anything. So that's one of the things, like the misconceptions, right? So in general, if you want to tell some specific stories or just misconceptions and things that people should know if they're interested in getting more exposure.
Okay, cool. So things people should know if they're interested in getting more exposure. I think the first thing is to know why you want more exposure. That's a thing that's missing for a lot of people. When you were like, I just want to be on TV. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Are you getting on? I always ask, which one of the ABCs of publicity do you want to create? Is it awareness? Is it buzz? Or is it credibility? So if you're enrolling in a program right now, you want to create awareness. You want people to know about it. You want it to be talked about on multiple platforms to create that buzz. Mm-hmm. However, if you're trying to like really stand out in the market and have, separate yourself from other coaches, you can get an Oprah magazine. And once you're in there, it may not enroll you clients necessarily, but the credibility of having been featured there is what's going to enroll clients in the long term. Mm-hmm. So knowing the intention behind the publicity rather than, if you're getting publicity for publicity's sake, that's awesome. I have another client who's like, I just want to see my name in Self magazine. So that's what we did. We got it there. And then once she did that, we were like, okay, now how can we use this in a way that's going to actually grow your business as well? Mm-hmm. So intentionality is really key. Another thing is developing relationships is honestly everything. I tell this story all the time. I remember back in 2009, I was working with Canada's largest women's only boot camp, and my CEO at the time wanted to get into the Globe and Mail more than anything. So for context, the Globe and Mail is the equivalent in Canada of like the New York Times or the Washington, one of our 2 national daily papers. So knowing she wanted to be in the fitness section, I looked up who's the fitness writer for the Globe and Mail, and it was a woman named Monique Sabin. So back in 2009, we didn't have Instagram. So I was on Twitter and I was just following her, and I didn't just go in with an ask because she doesn't know me. She's not invested in me. She doesn't owe me anything. So I started having conversation with her. She talked about her cat. I have 2 cats. We started talking about those, developed a relationship. And by the time I was like, hey, Monique, I know that you write for fitness in the Globe and Mail. I'm actually the publicist for a fitness company. I had an idea for a story. Could this fit for you? We ended up in the Globe and Mail twice that year. Oh, wow. She also wrote for other publications, so we got featured there as well. But the reason I'm driving relationships home is because now it's 2020, and Monique and I went for coffee just last week.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So it's really and she's not still in the media business, but for a lot of my other friends, like literally friends now, it's great because when I want to get a client on TV or myself, I just send a text message of like, hey, do you have space for this? And that works, as opposed to having to go through the traditional channels. Like I've done the work to build the relationship that now it's easy. So thinking about, I think if I could share anything with who's listening here, I would share who is a person that has access to your audience, whether that's doing a Facebook Live in their group, whether that's doing a training in their own mastermind, whether that's getting on their podcast. Mm-hmm. See how you can develop a relationship with the top 3 people in your industry or a niche, and then see how much that's going to grow your business.
I love that. And what's interesting is that I think, and it falls into the misconceptions, and I even thought of that too. And now people have been asking me that is it really worth it to be in a magazine? People don't even read it anymore. Is it even worth it to be on a news show in the morning when people don't even watch TV anymore? And they've asked me, like, have you gotten a bunch of clients because that's what you're doing? And what I have learned from you ladies is that it's not necessarily what you do, it's the credibility that comes with it and how much you're going to share it and leverage that. And that's what you have been teaching me, like with every email or whenever I have the chance to describe myself, if I'm applying for something, put in those links of the TV segments to say that I've done this. People have recognized me enough to accept me on a TV show several times and to see me speaking too, because it's proof, right? If they read your article or if they see you on in a video, that you know what you're talking about.
So this is what I always love to use as an example with this. So like I was saying earlier, there are so many coaches out there now. Mm-hmm. Think about your own consumer behavior. I don't know if you ever watched the Netflix show with Aziz Ansari, Netflix. And I remember there was one specific episode where he and his buddy were going to go out and grab tacos that night. And what did they do? They went on Google and they went on Yelp and they looked up reviews and they were looking, what's the best taco place? So they were relying on that external feedback to decide which taco place was worth going to. Mm-hmm. So remember, as a consumer, when you're looking to invest tens, hundreds, thousands of dollars, chances are we're going to Google whatever we're going to spend the money on. Yeah. And remember, if someone's going to hire you, they're doing the same thing to you. And if the only place you show up on is your own website and your own social media, but your competition has been featured in Forbes and Business Insider, and they've spoken on stage with Tony Robbins, guess who they're more likely to hire? And they won't be mad that person costs more.
Right.
So you know what? The truth is, I don't have cable anymore and I'm a publicist. You know what I mean? But there is the truth of having those as seen on logos. Like I speak on stages. Nobody has ever introduced me saying, and here comes Lisa Simone Richards with 1,200 followers on Instagram. Right. It's all Lisa has been featured in the Globe and Mail, on Cityline, all these credibility builders. So people know that I am the real deal and that they can trust me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that so much. And another thing too, that I think it's important for us to say is how getting these features can go a long way, more so than actually paid advertising. Because that's what I had said, how people ask me, are you paying to be on TV? And sometimes that's the idea that people have. I'm just going to pay and then I'm going to talk about my business. Whereas what I have learned from you is to leverage what's relevant around the time that can be combined with what you want to talk about, so that it's not just you talking about you, because that's advertisement. And what do? We skip commercials. We don't want to, we skip even the ads on magazines. But when you're combining that with something relevant, then it catches people's attention.
Marta, you totally took the words directly out of my mouth. So I'm glad that those landed with you, because that's it. We know how to scroll past an ad on Instagram. We know how to not pay attention to a billboard when we're driving. But when you become the content, like when I listen to podcasts, I want to hear what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. So if you're the person who's being featured, they're listening to you with a different ear. It's really the difference between saying, hey, look at me, I'm so good, versus someone else saying, hey, look at her, she's so awesome.
It makes all the difference. And it's amazing. I love it so much. So tell us how to work with you. So somebody's listening, they're like, I'm sold, I need more exposure, and Lisa's going to empower me. So what should they do?
I'm so excited because I work with my clients in 6-month segments, because really my vision for my clients is I'm putting all publicists out of business with this. I don't want you to need me after 6 months. If you want me, there is accountability. That's great. But I want to give you everything I know so that you can have a business that lather, rinses, and repeats for itself.
Right.
So I love looking at the first client I had back in 2015. She was my guinea pig. Her name was Jessie Lane Lee. She's a holistic nutritionist. And I just started teaching her everything I knew about publicity. And I love when I look at her in 2020, she is still on 3 or 4 morning shows every single month.
Oh, wow.
Without me needing to be there, she knows how to do it. So typically I work with my clients either in a 6-month private capacity or in my mastermind. And I just share all those 5 Ps for publicity in there. And can I say one thing about my mastermind?
Of course.
It's my 3rd time running it, and I have a 100% success rate. I'm not going for 99. So if you want to get exposure, if you want to know how to do it, I have a really good track record, and I'm totally good with owning that and saying it.
Oh my gosh. And you don't even just have to trust Lisa's word for it. You can trust my word, because it's true.
See, I'm not just saying I'm so great. You're saying I'm so great, and that's more powerful.
It sure is. And I love what you said about the 6 months, because it really takes, at least I have seen it with me, it takes a little while until you start seeing the results, especially with bigger stuff, because you're learning to position yourself, and it takes time. But I feel like in 6 months, that's what we accomplished. I got a whole lot done in 6 months. And now we're working on another 6 months and I'm doing more stuff too. And it's just the right amount of time for you to start seeing stuff and to get confident to then start doing stuff on your own. And I love that testimonial of your very first client. That's amazing.
How cool is that? Like typically a public, like when I worked in a PR agency, if I recall, we were charging something like at least 10 grand a month on a 12-month contract. Do you know what I mean? That's just not realistic for most people who are leaving their safe 9-to-5 jobs to take a chance on themselves.
Right.
So if I can show you how to do it all on your own, that's my jam.
Yes. Oh, I love it so much. So how can we find you?
I am available online at lisasimonericherds.com. And I would love when you head over to my website. I actually have a new quiz that I just created a few weeks ago. It's called Uncover the Best Way to Promote Your Coaching Business. So as you go through that quiz, it's going to help determine, or should you be on stages? Should you be in small groups? Should you maybe be focusing on writing? Based again on your gifts and your goals, what's the best way for you to start getting in front of more people right now?
Oh, I love that. I'm going to add the link to the quiz too, because that's super important. Just like what you said, what's your intention, right? And what you feel comfortable with, everything comes together until you find what works. And instead of pitching to a million things, and this is what you've been helping me too, it's to focusing on one thing, making that work, and then going a different direction, but making sure you hone in on that, get that success rate.
Yeah. And I actually want to lean into one thing you said there, if I can. So you said what you feel comfortable with. And I believe in getting people started where they're comfortable, because that grows the confidence to take the next step.
Yeah.
I'm also the kind of coach who's always stretching her clients. You know what I mean? So we're going to start off getting confidence. We're going to develop that muscle, but then I'm going to make you flex that muscle. I'm going to have you do things that are uncomfortable. Like I was in the gym this morning and I was just doing, what was I doing? Side raises. And my shoulder strength isn't that great. So I started off with 5 pounds and then I moved up to 7.5 and it didn't feel great, but you know what? That's the only way I'm going to grow. Yes. So I know when I go the next time, maybe I'll do 7.5 again, but you know, 2 or 3 sessions later, I'm going to be up to 10.
Yes. Well, and that has everything to do with how you challenged me to start doing my in-person events. Like, you're behind everything. And
the mastermind.
I was mad. Can I just confess here? I was mad when we left that call because I was like, I wasn't wanting to do this right now. It's the end of the year. Let's wait until 2020. And it was just the best thing that I could have done, because now I just set up so many other things, like an actual system for the entire year, because I pushed myself. When you told me to push myself, I took it as a challenge and I just went for it. So thank you for that.
And you know what? I think if you're not pissed with your coach at least once in your relationship, you're not coaching right.
Right. That's true.
As much as I love being a cheerleader for my clients, I wasn't hired to be their friend. I wasn't hired to say, there, you're doing well. My job, the reason you're paying me, the reason you're investing your time, money, and energy is so I can get you to where you want to go. So it's good that you get pissed at me at one point. I've been pissed at my coach for sure. And now look where I am. So yeah, if you're not pissing him off, you're doing it wrong.
That's right. It could be your tagline. Oh my gosh. I love this so much. And you're just so fun and so straight to the point. And that's one of the things that I've loved about Christina and you too, is that no sugarcoating, because you don't have, everything has to be fast. We don't have that much time, but you can get it done in a short amount of time, which that's amazing, right? To do everything that we accomplish in just 30 minutes with our calls. Is that what you do in your one-on-ones as well? Is it just 30 minutes?
With my mastermind calls, and actually with my private clients, it is 60 minutes.
Okay.
With the masterminds, I've moved into hot seating my members now. So everybody gets a few minutes of dedicated time to work on that one thing that they want to solve. And of course, with my private clients, I have the flexibility to go wherever they would like me to go with them.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I hope many people will get in touch with you to see more about what you do. And I am just so grateful in so many ways for you.
This has been so fun, Marta, and I hope you learned a thing or two that's new about me, because this is fun to do, like the me talking this time.
I know, I did it. It was amazing. Thank you. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Lisa, and don't forget to go take her quiz and connect with her. All the links are in the show notes. Until next time, bye.